200 years ago, a massive Qing Dynasty ship carrying nearly 2,000 lives and priceless treasures vanished beneath the waves. Some call it the Titanic of the East. But what really happened? And why did its discovery spark global outrage? Stay tuned, hit that subscribe button, and let's uncover the truth together. "200 years ago, it departed from Xiamen, carrying nearly 2,000 passengers and priceless ancient Chinese poems. It sailed from Xiamen, bound for Java. It had intended to avoid pirates by detouring through the Paracel Islands, but unexpectedly ran aground and sank. Over 1,800 lives, millions of weapons, approximately 1,000 tons of cargo, and 7 cannons lay forever buried on the bottom of the South China Sea. It wasn't until over 100 years later that a shipwreck hunter named Michael Hatcher discovered its wreckage approximately 30 meters below the surface. It is said that after salvaging nearly 1 million exquisite thorn weapons, he ordered over 600,000 of them to be smashed and thrown into the sea, because cultural relics are rare and therefore valuable. Ultimately, the remaining approximately 356,000 ancient poems appeared at major auctions. Hatcher profited approximately 140 million renminbi at the exchange rate at the time. In April 1999, an oceanographic research vessel named 500M appeared near the South China Sea between Sumatra and Borneo. This area was a crucial point on the Maritime Silk Road. According to 500M, approximately 2,000 merchant ships sank here, and countless treasures fell to the seabed. The ship's commander, Mike Hatcher, stood at the bow, gazing at the churning waters near Belle Reef. As the most successful British professional treasure hunter in history, this was his first return to these waters in 13 years. In 1986, he rose to fame for salvaging the ancient Chinese shipwreck, the Nanjing. Over 200,000 pieces of porcelain and 125 gold ingots, among other precious cultural relics, were auctioned off, claiming they were unclaimed on the high seas. The 150,000 pieces of Chinese porcelain fetched approximately 340 million renminbi, setting a record for cultural relics auctioned at the time. Michael Hatcher instantly became a billionaire. Having tasted the sweetness of success, Hatcher decided to make treasure hunting his career. However, the following decade saw him fall into a salvage slump. In 1999, the opportunity to return to the South China Sea came from a key clue discovered by British maritime historian Nigel Pulford at the National Maritime Museum in Greenwich. An East India guidebook recorded an ancient Chinese merchant ship running aground. In 1822, a large Chinese sailing ship ran aground on the Belvedere Shoal in the Gasper Strait. Some crew members reached Batavia, while the rest drifted on the debris. The sea area described in this record is a high-risk area for shipping accidents in Southeast Asia. Shipwrecks from the 19th century Maritime Silk Road still remain. With a keen intuition about the distribution of shipwrecks, Hatcher determined that this coral reef area must be buried with unknown treasures. After more than a month of continuous exploration, he finally discovered a pile of gleaming white ceramics on the seabed, approximately 30 meters underwater. The keel of the sunken ship had long since decayed, but black iron rings buried in the sand, the fixings for the masts of Chinese sailboats, human bones and fragments of blue and white porcelain scattered in the cracks of the coral, all seemed to indicate the tragedy of the shipwreck, but the true identity of the sunken ship remained uncertain. During the 2 months that Nigel Pulford spent deciphering the shipwreck code page by page in the archives of the Dutch East India Company, Hatcher's 10,000-ton moored ship had already penetrated the hydraulic grab 30 meters to the seafloor. As the cabbage stirred, 18th and 19th century Dehuan and Jingdezhen porcelains emerged from the water like a constellation of stars, mostly destined for Asian markets, some dating back to the 15th century. Scattered among them were Yixing Zisha tea sets, household items, seals, dark brown hairs in wooden boxes, Spanish silver coins, opium, silk, embroidery needles, watches, and more, all together outlining the trade routes of 1822. Rusty iron cannons were also salvaged from the seabed. According to the Qing Dynasty's Maritime Defense Order, to prevent rebellion, each merchant ship was only allowed to carry one, but the Taixing had hidden 7. The Qing Dynasty floating ship, the Taixing, hailed as the Titanic of the East, was a rare giant sailing vessel of its time. At 59 meters long and displacing 1,430 tons, it was marked on the Horsburgh chart as a sea giant. Its bow was a typical quadrangular shape with a painted eye. Its stern housed a gun bay equipped with cannons. Additional cabins and tents were built on the deck. Its design featured 75 transverse watertight bulkheads and over 100 longitudinal watertight compartments, putting it hundreds of years ahead of Western technology. For over 100 years, from the 14th to the 15th centuries, China dominated the world's oceans. The Taixing, in both size and technology, exemplified the final glory of China's era of shipwreck. For 90 days, from May to July 1999, the salvage team, working 16 hours a day, cleaned the Taixing shipwreck's artifacts, compiled and organized the burial mounds. Following the market logic that objects are valuable, they smashed 600,000 artifacts, hoisting only 356,000 pieces of porcelain onto the ship, thereby inflating the price of porcelain. Such barbaric actions deeply distressed the Chinese archaeological community. However, due to China's limited voice in the international cultural heritage protection system at the time, it was powerless to intervene. The Taixing incident also became a turning point in the history of international underwater cultural heritage protection. This incident directly led to the 2001 UNESCO Convention on the Protection of the Underwater Cultural Heritage, which established restrictions on commercial salvage, becoming a landmark case in underwater cultural heritage protection. In 1984, Hatcher also salvaged the Nanjing, which sank in 1752, from the South China Sea, retaining 239,000 pieces of porcelain and 125 gold ingots for auction. On the day of the auction, these ancient Chinese porcelains practically covered 2 floors of the venue, attracting collectors from around the world. My country also sent ceramic experts to investigate the situation and to try to bring back the treasures that originally belonged to us. As a sign of respect, the auction house handed the number 1 plaque to the Chinese side. But during the 3 days of the auction, the number 1 plaque was not raised even once. Because the starting price of each porcelain piece at the auction house was more than 10 times the $30,000 price, and the price kept rising. Here, $30,000 was like 3 yuan, far exceeding the $30,000 budget. This time, over 200,000 pieces of porcelain salvaged will be auctioned in Stuttgart, Germany. Dahua County, in conjunction with the Dahua Ceramics Museum, used a combination of private fundraising and government funding to purchase 72 pieces of porcelain for approximately 800,000 renminbi. Every unearthed artifact is a deep-sea text containing the secrets of civilization. Its cultural value far surpasses its physical form. The Qing Dynasty Shipwreck of the Nanhai No. 1, discovered in the summer of 1987, is a testament to civilization that rewrote the history of world navigation. This ocean-going merchant ship, dating back over 800 years, has a hull length of 31.2 meters, making it the oldest and largest ancient shipwreck in the world. This time, my country classified it as a top-secret project. It was not until 2007 that it was salvaged in its entirety and transferred to the Crystal Palace. Some say that the current state of Chinese underwater archaeology is due to Hatcher's efforts. He made every Chinese person understand that only by empowering salvage techniques with science and technology and building a strong legal barrier of protection can we protect these precious cultural relics buried on the seabed. At the intersection of history and the future, we can build a solid barrier to safeguard cultural heritage. The Taixing's tragic sinking and controversial salvage changed maritime history and gave birth to global heritage protection laws. But deep beneath our oceans, countless shipwrecks still hold untold secrets. If you want to explore more lost treasures and hidden histories, like this video, share it with fellow history lovers, and subscribe for more amazing discoveries. See you in the next adventure.